Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Sonic Movie Show, the only show of video game movie reviews, Sonic movie news, and video game and the Sonic stuff. My name is Ethan, and with me here to take it to the streets, as always, is Devin.
Morning, or is it evening?
That's
I'm moving
true.
my interest into Bangkok. I had to fit in two
Okay,
words. I like both.
continue the line.
Yeah.
Is it morning? Is it evening? Well, only one of us has a window on screen. David, how are you doing?
That's
Is it-
me. You're uglier than I remember.
Oh, he's
Wow.
good at quotes now.
Yes, I need him
Get
to
the
also do
RPG.
quotes. Yes, that's perfect. That's perfect.
Yeah, I mean, great quotes. When I heard the "You're uglier than I remember," I was like, "Oh, I'm saying that right when we start."
Time to
Kicking
ruin
it
this
off with that.
episode
Uh-oh.
and swear in the first couple minutes here. My favorite quote Devin has ever done is not a real quote, where I think as Shadow the Hedgehog, he said, "Hey, nice cock." And I'm like, where'd
Oh
you get
my
that from?
God.
He's like, I Googled Sonic the Hedgehog quotes. It says that.
It was like the fifth episode we did. It was.
Still my favorite.
Oh,
And guess
my
what?
God.
If Keanu Reeves is Shadow the Hedgehog, I saw a Twitter meme of him with the gun, Keanu Reeves, and it said "nice cock," and I almost sent that to you, Devin. Be like, see, it was
Hey,
preordained.
nice cock.
Oh my god,
I'm gonna need
you're
a
right.
cock. Yeah, I'm thinking I'm
Cocked. right. All right, boys.
Rip to
today's
this
episode, we watched the 2009 film Street Fighter: The Legend of Chun-Li.
Heard of that one.
A solid hour and a half. I'm very, very happy about that.
That is in the Sonic movie show sweet spot that we always say is like, hey, if you're an hour and a
Yeah.
half, you probably at least get 1 star.
Right. Unless the movie is like fantastic, amazing, and I never
Right.
want it to end, then sure, keep it going. Lord of the Rings, give me 3.5 hours of them doing several different endings all at once. Yeah, let's keep doing it, But for a movie like this, 96 minutes is a-okay by
Yeah,
me.
I think that's plenty.
Yes. This is the first movie review episode of this season. I'm excited to get down in dirty in the streets with you boys. Trying to keep it
I
related
mean, that
to the
is
episode.
that is definitely one of the themes. Is it's all about the streets and
Yes.
knowing the
Yeah.
people.
Okay. And I want to just, because this is our first one with David here, I want to start off with him and ask him a very pointed question. David,
Wow.
what was the experience, just the overall experience of being like, all right, I got to watch this movie based off a video game series I do not play, based off characters I do
Yeah.
not know, and it might not be
So-
good. What was it like for you?
I was trying to, because I've played Street Fighter a couple times, and
You did it
like
once
I've
with me,
seen
I
like
know.
Chun-Li is like one of the more famous characters. I feel like because I know who she is, so that she must be more famous. And I only recognized like a couple moves, like every time she would like grab the dude with just her thighs and then just twist down. I feel like that's like a very Street Fighter move. But overall, I didn't love the movie, but I didn't. It wasn't like difficult to get through.
Okay.
Like
So it's like a morning commute on a good day.
it was enjoyable. I definitely like got bored and had to keep myself from getting distracted a couple times. Namely the beginning, and also there was like side plots that I just didn't understand what the point was, like the whole investigator duo. And like I got to the end and I turned to my girlfriend. I was like, why were they even in the movie? So interesting, but
I have a theory about that.
It was
personally.
fine.
You as well.
It was my so. Well, yeah.
All right, well, Devin, you've played a little bit of Street Fighter. I know it's not quite your bag, but we've watched 2 Street Fighter movies, you and I,
We have.
in the past. The fantastic, amazing, he's got it in his hands, Jean-Claude Van Damme and Raul Julia, Street Fighter. Honestly, just a fantastic movie. It's so stupid in an awesome way.
Still have it unopened because I'm waiting for whenever we rewatch it one day.
Right. I opened up mine just because I didn't want to have like the thing on screen with the wrapper was reflective. But inside that is a bison dollar, so you can maybe spend that.
Well, I'm saving that. That's my 401k. Basically,
right. And then we
And
also
retire.
watched Street Fighter 2, the animated movie, which was I imagine directly. This is what the story of the game is supposed to be. There isn't like a story mode. There's like arcade mode endings that kind of tell you, oh yeah, that's what Ryu is doing. So we watched both of those. This is our third Street Fighter movie on the channel here that we're doing. I'm curious to know what you think, just overall. Just kind of comparing it to the experience of watching the other two. I know I basically threw my opinions in this question, but take mine out of the way
Right.
now, and you tell me what did you think about this movie in relation to those?
Well, in the spectrum of the Jean-Claude Van Damme Street Fighter on one end, right? Then you have the cartoon anime that we watched. I feel like this falls kind of just right in the middle for me because there's no other space. I mean, it could have been left, right, but right in the middle. And I think this movie, and we were just talking about how David mentioned that why were there like the cops there? I feel like this movie started off as like an NCIS wannabe movie, and they're like, what if, like, I feel like they already had a script written for that, for something similar to this, where there was some like woman in the streets trying to like tackle a big power in the town or something, but they were getting involved. I feel like that had a plot. I feel like already written somewhere, and then there was another script being thrown around that was Street Fighter, and they're like, "Fuck it, let's just work together here." And I feel like that's what it feels like. I feel like I was watching, like you said, David, really felt like I was watching NCIS randomly because it has all the classic like that kind of cop detective action shows. Hawaii Five-0, another example. Where you have one cop is sexy, but the other one's sexy too, and there's some tension,
Right.
but they're trying to do their job. But then they have a moment where he needs to make plays for his side, and she needs to make plays for her side, but then they kind of do get thrown away towards the end.
Yeah, they just
more
kinda
so Detective Maya Sunny there, played by Moon Bloodgood, which is a cool last name in my opinion. Bloodgood.
I thought her name was Blood God.
That's also cool.
I mean, it would be even cooler.
I thought I read that and I had to double check.
Yeah, I mean, she gets shot at one point, and then she kind of just disappears, and then they're together again back at the office, and I'm like, and this is where the end credits pop up and be like, then next time on Hawaii Five-0,
Yeah.
it's like whatever the next case would be.
Yeah.
My biggest issue with this was if you take away Street Fighter, the title card from this, and you take away even the NCIS stuff of this didn't feel like Street Fighter. I mean, I feel like they were trying to do like a kung fu action movie, which is fine. We've seen a bunch of those. I've seen a bunch of those that aren't video game movies. But like, I would never in a million years, if this came on the TV, would have thought this was a Street Fighter movie.
Right.
And don't get me wrong, we love Neil McDonough, who plays Bison in this. He's a friend of the show practically.
Oh, yeah.
'Cause he's been in so many of these video game movies, including Sonic as one of the army dudes.
He's the one
so he's
that
been in
Jim
a lot of
Carrey
stuff.
yells at the beginning-ish of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I recognized him.
I mean, you have Michael Clark Duncan, who's been in a bunch of stuff. Rest in peace. He was Balrog. But yeah, like, I don't think any of the cast was necessarily bad. I mean, the acting wasn't amazing, but I also don't feel like they were given much to work with either. But none of them also like felt like what the characters are, like whether in physical appearance or just like energy, or like what I know of the characters, like how they're presented, their backgrounds. I don't, maybe Ethan, you'll let me know more about the backgrounds, but I don't know. It just felt very like they're by name only. And then, there was some of like the magic stuff, but they rarely used it.
And it's never verbally acknowledged. That we don't get a name to even describe it. It's just like energy.
Yeah. And I guess the only times they tried to like make them look like the characters was like subtly, where like Chun-Li, played by Kristen Kruk, she finally wears blue. You don't see her wearing any blue until the middle of the movie when she goes to the rave. That's the only time I feel like she's worn blue.
She
and it wasn't even really
in the
close to her
training thing,
outfit.
But,
I get maybe the outfit wouldn't work for the movie. I get it. Like, I feel like a good job of finding a way to make it work in a movie is the latest Mortal Kombat movie we saw, where they found a way to make it work, but still, when you see them, oh, that's Sub-Zero.
You can have it be inspired by it. Like, there's a pattern on her outfit. Have the pattern be woven into a new outfit. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, because she just looked like, honestly, like just your normal person in the street, like normal person in the street.
She doesn't quite look like a normal person. I have a very specific person I feel like she looks like. I'll get to that in a second.
I was gonna say, can I guess what it is?
Yeah, let me know.
She kind of looks like Lara Croft.
Yes. I was going to say the same thing.
Street Fighter: The Legend of Chun-Li, more like Street Fighter: The Legend of Lara Croft. Yeah, this is basically gives me flashbacks to the 2018 Tomb Raider movie. She looks like her,
which we liked.
Which we liked. I will say this. I got so many thoughts. First off, that was my transition. More like Legend of Lara Croft. So in the draft episode, we talked about different fighting game movies and how there's a lot of them. And I said and we didn't actually mention the Street Fighter 90s movie, which is like in the pinnacle, I feel like, as you could probably get. And guess what? It barely is a fighting game movie in a traditional kind of sense, but Street Fighter doesn't have like a tournament in really any of its stories. I know like the end of this movie kind of teased that that's what we were going to do, but like I think maybe there was, I don't know. But on the one hand, of movies that were like, I'm not sure if this is going to be good or bad, we have at the top end, DOA, Dead or Alive, and on the bottom hand, we have The King of Fighters. Now, mainly I say The King of Fighters was really bad because it did not know anything about its characters, actively changed things. They take a beach bum and make him a CIA agent. He just randomly shows up.
That movie is so
stuff.
forgettable that if you told me to recap it, I couldn't tell you. I just remember there was a scene where they're fighting in an alleyway. That's it.
And like a director of a previous video game movie played one of the characters, and I thought that was cool, but like, whatever. I don't really know much about DOA Dead or Alive, so I guess I can't really say how accurate it was to the characters, but like that was fun stupid, and the bottom is stupid, where it feels like, gee, we just want to make a movie and we got to like change everything around just to make the movie we want with the characters that are presented with us. I do agree that this movie, you could change their names and it's not a Street Fighter movie. Like, yeah, you called her Chun-Li. Okay. I don't think she ever played piano. I guess that doesn't matter. But like a lot of that stuff are like, yeah, you could just change all their names and it doesn't really change much of anything. My main issue with this movie before we go in, and like, yeah, I can get into stupid character differences. They made choices. I think it's mainly fine. But my main issue with this movie is, David, I have a question for you. Have you ever heard the old saying when it comes to storytelling, show, don't tell?
Yeah.
Yeah, basically what that means is don't tell me something's happening, show me, right? And a good amount of this movie is Chun-Li saying she struggled in the streets of Bangkok.
Oh,
and we don't show any of that. Yeah, she's walking around, but like
it looked like she was on a tourist trip in one day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it literally looks like Lara Croft is trying to find some temple somewhere in Istanbul, Bangkok. But, that's where we actually are. We said Istanbul before we recorded. That's why I said that. Looks like she's trying to find a temple somewhere. It's not like she's like, struggling, living on the streets. Also, I just want to throw out this as well. She tells her father, she tells her mom, we can't just change everything about our lives based on the news. Girl, you did. Someone read 3 characters on an ancient Chinese scroll and you changed your entire life.
I want to say that's a red flag, by the way. That's a huge red flag. If you ever get a scroll in the mail and when you open it, there's like a Gregorian chant or something happening, close that shit, send it, return to sender. Do not open that shit. Do not follow it.
I've
watched too many movies.
From the 15th
It's too much of a risk. Just return to sender. Thank you. I'm good.
I found this movie to be very boring. I agree with both of what you guys are saying. We could talk about likes and dislikes. I feel like there's a few different things I want to mention. Why don't we kind of just talk about a couple of the characters first before we kind of go overall into different maybe moving parts? I want to ask. Mainly, my questions are of Chun-Li, um, of our NCIS Hawaii 5 duo, and Bison himself. And I want
That's
to.
Is
yeah,
Bison
Charlie
the
Nash is played by Chris Klein. Then, like I said earlier, Detective Maya Sunny, played by Moon Bloodgood, were the detectives there.
Bison
from
is the
Interpol.
main?
Bad guy. Yeah, Bison's the main bad
Yeah,
guy.
he's
Played
the
by
bad-
Neil McDonough.
Okay.
Yeah, and in the video games, well, first off, what I liked, I'll say I like right here. I like that this version of Bison is a real estate asshole, like just he's just trying to remove all the poor people so he can sell expensive homes to rich people. Like I actually like that. Like yes, he's a villain that actually has something that's relatable to everyone. It's not just I want to rule the world, because that's just what video game Bison was. He's just I want to rule the world. He's got psychic power. So like I thought it was cool, that this Bison was like that. Just a quick correction, and this goes into that King of Fighters territory. If you watched with subtitles on, it would tell you this. It's not called Shadaloo, it's Shadaloo. There's 2 O's at the end there. That's how everyone pronounces it in the games and all that stuff. It's Shadaloo. I don't know why they changed it. I feel like they changed it to make it sound Asian of some area, because that's where the movie's taking place in Hong Kong and then in Bangkok. So we got to name it Shadaloo because that kind of sounds, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I can think of.
Maybe everyone mispronounced it and no one called them out.
Wow.
Maybe
That
because
could be.
everyone says that in the movie, and it's just weird. But what do we think about Bison in particular, and about everything that they're doing with this character?
Yeah, can I say so? Sounds like you liked this character. I felt like, I mean, he was a fine villain. It felt way over the top to me. Like at every turn, it was every scene of him until like the fight scenes were, look how bad this guy is. Like he had no other scenes of like note, which I guess like makes sense for a villain, but it just like I found myself noticing it. Like I remember distinctly, it just pans to him in one scene, and they're in like, it looks like a boxing studio or like a gym. His like big bodyguards like right next to him, standing next to a punching bag, and then you just see him like wham, 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 and it's like, oh, he's like training. He's like, I was like, oh, okay, like let's see what he's training, and it turns around, it's just like a woman. Just straight up, no explanation. She's not part of the story.
She was.
It doesn't.
She was, but
okay,
yes, I agree.
well, it didn't. It did, and that was not clear to me.
You're right.
It just
because the
seemed
way her
like a
hair-
random
yeah.
woman strung up.
Hey, that's how
And it
bad he
just,
is. He
like,
beats women.
It moved on. I was like, what was that?
Then he apologizes to her, kisses her on the forehead, kind of does this with his nose, and walks away.
I mean, like so he was just so evil.
Yeah,
which
yeah.
I,
Oh, I
like,
get it.
definitely
I get
made
it.
you not like him. But it was just like every time I was like, what is gonna happen next? Like, what is he gonna do?
He needed to like. I think the next scene could have been him like setting a puppy on fire. I feel like that's the
Yeah,
level of
right,
like
right.
you got to
Yes.
make sure you know that this guy is.
It was-
110% evil. I mean, later on they do show that like he takes his pregnant kid or whatever from his wife, which was a really
Yeah.
uncomfortable scene. By the way, just like
yes,
it was way too long and just
It was weirdly sexual. Like at the beginning, like why did you have to
Yeah.
open the top? You can just
Right.
yeah.
open
Like I feel like
bottom.
they're like
You could go
they're like
bottom
oh
up.
we're about to show you some titties.
Well,
Never
I mean,
mind.
she's about to
Yeah.
die. He's got to get one last something beforehand, I guess.
God,
you
I
know.
guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're like, yeah, then he absorbed all the baby absorbed all the good. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I
sure,
have no
whatever.
idea what that really was supposed to. That felt really tacked on. Like they needed to give him some sort of supernatural thing. I have no
Yeah.
idea what was going on there.
There was they keep showing that supernatural stuff. Like I said, they have like the orb and they're doing like orb energy studying, and then just
Yeah.
like they never really comes out though.
At
in
one
the
point,
combat.
Gen, Baby Yoda heals Chun-Li there. I'm like, oh, cool. It's a cool thing, that he gets to do. I'm sure there's still a bullet inside her, but sure, he closed the wound.
He at least I'll say I liked him from like a more traditional kung fu sense. You always need your good like master who's just
Same.
super
And he was young
wise.
too, so he's not the
Yeah.
traditional. I'm really old, but then all of a sudden he can kick your
Yeah,
ass. You know,
he's definitely like
he's a young guy,
you know
youngish
the
guy.
young but also just shredded dude. You love to
Yeah,
see it.
yeah. He's got that skinny fit
Yeah.
build that a lot of kung fu.
Which I'm one day, folks. Don't worry.
Yeah, okay, I'd like to see it. Like to see it. Who am I to talk? But still, you made the claim. I like to see it. In addition to the Laura Croft aspects, it just reminded me as well. There's another video game that this reminded me of heavily, and that is Sleeping Dogs, the 2012, I think. Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, open world. I don't want to say GTA-like, but in the simulation sense of like in a city, where you were an undercover cop in Hong Kong, and you were trying to infiltrate gangs and stuff. It was a very cool game. It's a cult classic, and this reminded me of that. Well, I will say this about Bison. I said like, oh, I liked the kind of angle they went with him. I guess I didn't really make it clear. He is stupid and awful. A lot of the scenes that he's in. Sometimes his Irish accent disappears, and sometimes it like breaks out like a bullet out of a gun.
Well, he left when he was young.
True.
I
But like
forgot he was even Irish.
they say he's Irish missionary child, but then like he was a baby, and like yeah, okay, there was an orphanage, but they said he was left to die, so I guess it's implied maybe the orphanage didn't take care of him.
It's a really
but he still has an Irish
disappointing-
accent.
It's really disappointing that he's Irish and he has all that power and he decides to do it for himself instead of killing England, you know?
Right, destroying the now king, then queen.
Yeah, that should have been the plot. That would have been more interesting. He's like trying to take out the queen.
Yeah. They show us so Gen is talking about Bison's past to Chun-Li, and like you're looking for like where he went wrong, and they just say no, he was an evil asshole the whole time. He goes and steals this gigantic basket of fish. Homie ain't eating it all, and they never show him like I gotta give it to people who need it. No, he's just an asshole who stole stuff. You know what I mean? Like, and then he
Well, he said he was poor. To be fair,
Okay,
I
he
think
can't
that
eat all
was
that
what they were
fish.
trying to do. But yeah, I mean, he also was I don't know. Yeah, I mean, they said he was evil from the very beginning, and then he got more evil with the pregnant ritual thing. However that works, which we find out later is Rose, which they keep talking about, the White Rose or whatever,
Right.
and it's his daughter that he somehow forgets. Like you have the kid there in that scene. Where how does she slip through your fingers?
knows?
And then come back and you need to kill her now.
Well, no,
I don't
they
know.
sent her off to Russia to keep her safe because again, this guy world travels. We'll get to the
But
NCIS.
I just don't know
duo, but
why,
they mention that. I will say this too. He is also the character that gives the worst lines, like written lines, not necessarily delivery, but just the worst written lines in the script here, back to back. So we see Chun-Li's dad for the first time in like the prison cell thing, and he gives her the thumb drive. Oh, she had a piano cancer. I heard it was really good. And then blah blah blah. He says this stupid stuff. He pretends to tap on the keyboard, and then the background changes, and he leaves.
That
He
was
goes-
real bad.
Yeah, it was
The,
really bad.
like, face-
It's a very low resolution photo that they then blew up and like cropped to make it ultra.
You're better
wide to
off just
fit that
leaving-
thing.
Just leaving like a Word document of him just typing gibberish. It might have,
Yeah,
at least
yeah,
that would have
yeah.
been funny. You know?
Yeah.
He's like, I'm
so-
just pretending to work.
He goes to leave, and he tells Balrog, "Oh, we need to get more photos next time. Make them like chippier, make them more happy." And when he's talking to Chun-Li's dad there, Chun-Li's dad is like, "You can't do this, blah blah blah, like you're awful, whatever." As he's leaving, he's telling Balrog, I forget exactly what he said, and I just said something about script writing, and I don't have the exact quote here, but he says like, you need so the dad really wants to see his daughter, right? And so Bison tells Balrog, who is the big boxer dude there, who is the boxer in the video game, although he's an American boxer, you don't want to leave someone starving. When someone's hungry, they're going to do whatever it takes to be hungry or to get what they need. And the implication is we want to make sure we keep the dad satisfied. That's why we're giving him the photos. We don't. If we deprive him of that, he might just straight up kill himself or something like that. So it sounds like he's about to say, and that's why you need to keep them fed, talking about like the dad. But then he just says to himself, everybody has a price. That's like two different cliches on like bad guy speak, and they're just cut in half and then pasted together. Like, you got to keep, the livestock fed just a little so you can, so that you can reap, off of them. But it's like anyone can be bought. Like that, those are two different ideas. You know what I mean?
One is on the one is like, on the poor spectrum. The other one's on like, well, if I give him $1 billion, he'll
the greedy
do this.
people, and
whatever.
it doesn't make any sense. I don't know if we have anything more to say about Bison. I'd like to ask David what he thought about our titular heroine, Chun-Li.
Just before we move on to Chun-Li, I guess before we move off the bad guy, I just want to say that there just are a lot of like stormtrooper gunfights on the bad guy side, moving into Chun-Li. I mean, she's like not that great at running away. She just runs into open areas when there's like you need to be like getting behind cover. Like, just seems like obvious stuff, and they're shooting and it's hitting like feet away and they're like right next to her. I was like,
she's not
what is going on?
It's not a cover
gravity.
shooter.
So gravity is different in Bangkok, though.
Right. That could be the
heavier.
case. So Chun-Li wise, I mean, there's a lot of confusing parts. The the dance battle was just they go into that like disco area. I just wrote down in my notes just pure 2000 and 2010s vibes, and then it was just 100% eye contact was uncomfortable for some reason.
Hey, we're not women and we're not lesbians.
So
that was, I think, what she was trying to get it on.
Maybe.
The woman in the red dress was the one Bison was beating up, by the way, in that scene, because she
gotcha.
failed him and gave
I
up
guess
information.
That makes sense.
Cantana, I think, is what.
Cantana, not to be confused with Katana from Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, sure. That's with a K.
Okay.
Like you can tell, like she was checking out all the dancing girls, and then Chun-Li walked in. She's like, "Oh, I gotta dance," and they were doing the eye thing. You're right.
The music was great. That was played by Ace Hood, by the way.
Really?
Who's done music for Anthony Bourdain, No Reservations, Grand Theft
peace.
Auto 5 as well. That's kind of
Rest
his,
in
and
peace.
Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan. I guess he was kind of a thing in the 2010s in terms of the rap scene. He was with DJ Khaled at one point in the music video. So
Okay, so I nailed the timeline.
yeah.
I mean, I guess I gave 2 decades, so it's like pretty.
Also, you knew the
timeline.
movie released in 2009.
Yeah, I thought so. Back to Chun-Li, some of her fight scenes, I thought they were fun at points. I mean, they weren't outstanding. I was definitely expecting the fight scenes to be the pinnacle in this movie because it's named Street Fighter, and they were just like,
cheesy.
Yeah, they were cheesy. It was like it's funny because it felt like I was watching like a kids movie fighting scene, but then there was scenes where like the bad woman, I wrote down high heel on the foot like into an eye, and I was like, whoa, that's like it feels like a fun little like, oh, we're not even really hurting each other, to like just brutality.
I mean, Chun-Li shoots someone, which for the first time in the movie, we're shown killing someone, and she's not phased at all. Which was
so I wrote
Straight in the
down
chest.
I wrote down Chun-Li is not Batman. She just kills people.
Right.
Honestly,
yeah.
the beginning though, with her like in the slums, her talking about that is so Batman. I was saying that when we were watching it to Bryn. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm like, I had to be in the streets for vengeance, and like I'm like waiting for the vengeance line to be dropped.
No,
Yeah,
instead
no,
she
she kills
watches
someone.
crime and doesn't do anything. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's very low-key policey, though, about it, though, and the way she describes it. She's like, just this crime in these streets. It's like,
well, I mean,
okay,
they are attacking they're attacking other poor people, regardless of what the
right. I'm just saying, like, it just felt so Batman-y. Like, that's what I'm saying, which Batman is kind of policey when in terms of how he talks about crime. But I want to say, like, I talked about this before, how some of the casting is, like I said, I don't think any actors necessarily bad in this movie. Like, I think they tried their best in this
I think of
film.
one
but
guy.
also, and this is no offense to Kristen Crook, but she just isn't to me what Chun-Li looks like.
Yeah,
Chun-Li to me is like a more broader woman who has
she's
a lot of
huge.
muscle.
Yeah, she's got a lot of muscle on her. Her she's
I think the
obviously-
Tomb Raider comparison is just spot on. Like, it just feels like a young Lara Croft, which is fine. I get that maybe this is a young Chun-Li, like it's the Legend of Chun-Li. This is her beginning, but like, even then, I still think they could have still made her like a more beefier fighter. But I feel like it's a lot with a lot of these other characters too, where like some of them look like they're fit, like they should be fighting, and some of them don't.
Yeah. And what was her name? Kristen, you said? She's a TV star. She's headlined lots of long-running TV shows in the past. So like
she was in Smallville.
Just where she kind of got her start. I forget
Robot Chicken.
I forget
One
what some of the
episode,
others was. Like not Supernatural, but like
Reacher,
something like that.
Ghost Rider, Burden of Truth. These are all like recent stuff. Watch Dogs Legion. You were talking about Watch Dogs earlier. She was in Watch Dogs
I
Legion.
didn't talk about Watch Dogs.
I'm thinking of the other game you said.
Sleeping Dogs.
Sleeping Dogs.
I
Same
talked
shit.
about an open world city where the dog is in the title.
Yeah.
She's been in TV
Same
shows
shit.
as well.
Close.
She's been in like 150 episodes of this, 200 of that type of thing.
She was in Chuck.
Yes, she was in Chuck. I love that show. One of the more
Euro
racist
Trip.
of Alec Baldwin's brothers is also in that show a lot. He was very much a lock her up type person, I think, still to this day. Here's the thing: like we talk about the fights and the choreography. I feel like this movie needed to have someone who knew what the hell they were doing to both choreograph the fights and train these people too, because it really just. We
And
watched
shoot
some
them
awesome
well.
ones where the fights seem like you're watching The Raid, you know what I mean? Or we've seen ones where it's like, oh yeah, Mortal Kombat Annihilation, where it's like, oh man.
I mean, even the
they're not even
'95
good.
Mortal Kombat wasn't good, but it got passed because the movie was so cheesy in all the perfect ways. I'm not gonna say this is as bad as the Mortal Kombat movies, like the '90s ones, but it is definitely like on the more end. Like, I think they tried. Like I said, I think they tried with the best of their abilities, but the cinematography didn't help. And the choreography. If whoever was doing the choreography, maybe they tried their best to make them do it. I don't know. It just seemed like it. Yeah, I think David puts it in a good way of like, it's something you'd see on like on TV made for kids in terms of some of the moves. I mean, there's one part in the back to the club scene, which I think is, I guess, the best part of the movie in a kind of campy sort of way, where she does like a 360 like kick, which she does like a handstand and does,
That Devin is the spinning bird kick. You know, the necklace that she. So here's the thing: the Street Fighter characters, they all got their special moves, all have names, and for the most part, like it's just meant to be kind of cool. But Chun-Li calls out the move spinning bird kick in Street Fighter 2. There's a voice line for it. I'm not gonna try to imitate it; it'd probably sound really bad. And like, yeah, granted, she's not throwing a fireball, but in the game, she's upside down like that, spinning, kicking off the ground, moving towards the enemy. So they had to find some way to make that iconic move in this. And so like they had like the necklace thing, remember the bird, and it's like stationary while she does.
I just
it.
feel like
I don't know,
like that kind of like that type of, like you're saying, it's almost fantastical way of doing combat. I think a great example that has done it well, that came out probably 9 years before this, is The Matrix, which has a lot of cheesy kung fu moves, but it's shot well and it's executed well so that it's cool versus, oh boy, that was cheesy as hell. I think that's always my comparison. I'm like, there is movies where they kind of purposely make it over the top, but there's a way to do it, and I think that's what they tried to do maybe for some of those kind of special move scenes. It just didn't work, unfortunately.
No, I feel like me, an amateur, I say amateur as if I've made a movie, a nobody, not even an amateur, could probably block just the scene of her doing the kicks, and I could probably block those shots in a way that seems more impactful and not stupid. Like, it kind of did look a little stupid. I digress. Anything else we want to talk about Chun-Li before I ask a very important question?
I want to talk about one other character, though.
Go for it.
If we're moving on from characters. Because what made the Jean-Claude Van Damme Street Fighter so good was one character in particular who was gorgeous. Peak sexiness from the 80s. We're talking about Vega, and played by Taboo is their name. Just, I don't see last name, just Taboo. Not saying they aren't attractive. Don't get me wrong. They're definitely hitting the meter. But you need to make them more sexy on the screen. I need to see some buttons undone. I need to see, or ripped shirt, something. Like, took the mask off. I'm like, okay, he's pretty, but he doesn't take his shirt off. That is you cannot do a Street Fighter movie.
That was a big part of that movie.
Vega.
It was a big part of in the Jean-Claude Van Damme Street Fighter movie. Where it was like, I don't remember who fought him. That's how much he dominated the screen. But it was a cage match in Barcelona, just like his stage in Street Fighter 2.
Yes.
And he like rips the shirt off, and you're like, I want to see more of him in this movie, but they're probably not going to. And then he does show up later. Yeah, he was great. That was a huge disappointment. So here's the thing. Shadaloo is not like a company or whatever in the games. It's just like G.I. Joe's Cobra. It's just, we're the super villain team, and we want to take over. Like, it's just that kind of, I don't want to say lame, but like, it's just, cartoony, right?
G.I. Joe.
Shadaloo, yes. Bison is it. Vega is one of the bad guys in it. Balrog is one of the bad guys in it. I don't know if anyone else was in like the Street Fighter 2 era that this movie is supposed to be like kind of in. Keep in mind as well, 2009 was also the year Street Fighter 4 came out, and that was both like the revitalization of the series that was dormant for a decade, but also what made fighting games like mainstream again. Like, there were fighting games, there were, some Soul Caliburs, like the awful 3D Mortal Kombats on the PS2 era, and and like King of Fighters left and right, but like there was niche, and like fighting games came back because Street Fighter came back, and everyone who has kids at that point remembered playing Street Fighter in the arcades, and they're like,
named
wow,
their
cool.
Kids Chun-Li and Bison.
and Ken and I named my son Blanca, big green guy. Or E Honda, even though my whole family's white, and I named him after E Honda because I played him in Street Fighter too.
That'd be so bad.
Trying to get him into sumo, he doesn't want to. He hates me.
His name's Rick now. I don't know.
I forget my main point on that, but I feel like that's also maybe where you say like they're making another movie. I wonder if like Capcom's like, hey, we want to have a Street Fighter movie to kind of come out around this time. Can we just change some stuff?
Well, I want to say I did see on IMDb, under the trivia section, it did say that in 2003, Jean-Claude Van Damme was working on a sequel to his movie called, and basically they had some casting and there was some talk, but then like they even had multiple people wanting to come back to play their characters. Really? But basically, it just kind of fell off. It just, for whatever reason, it didn't happen, and then they decided to scrap it in favor of this one. So
wow, what a shame! What a massive shame!
They wanted NCIS, dude. It was.
I don't remember.
Okay?
Was Jean-Claude Van Damme still on cocaine in the early 2000s? Because he was during the filming of that movie. There's a famous scene, David. I don't know if you've seen the memes of it online, where he's making a speech.
Familiar.
He's making a speech to like the United Nations like joint forces, and like he's like, and then like, oh, you could all go home. or you could come with me. And it's like, it looks like he just had like this zoned out,
Oh my
and
god!
I gotta bring it back together.
Like
thing,
it
he
just
is.
like it just hit him.
Yes, like
Wow.
it just, like he just like relapsed back into position there. His
Wow.
brain snapped back
That's
up.
amazing.
I've
What's
not
funny
seen
is
that.
It's awful
what's
to the
funny
body, but it was great for the film.
What's funny is when you asked me, like, is he still on cocaine? I went into his IMDb page expecting
they
to
would
see
have
like
that.
the
Like a
cocaine
timeline.
era.
Yeah.
2000 or 1995 to present, like as if it's like a
Yeah,
TV
just
show,
like
isn't it?
the cocaine era, detox era, just
Right,
like-
right. There are two more characters I want to talk about. These are Maya and Nash. So, couple things Street Fighter wise. Nash is a character in the games. His name is Charlie Nash. People remember the Street Fighter character Guile. He's the American Air Force guy with the blonde hair that goes kind of up into a flat top. Great, one of the greatest themes in video game history, music themes. It goes with everything historically. That's the meme.
Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun.
Charlie Nash was like Guile's mentor, and Bison killed him, so Guile's out for revenge, that type of thing. And then after Street Fighter 2, they made Street Fighter Alpha, which is like a prequel game, and Nash was in it. He was a character. Not an Interpol agent. He's like just a military guy. This Maya lady, to my knowledge, I have no idea who the hell she is. I think they just made a character, which I think is going into your... we had an NCIS CIS type movie, a Hawaii Five-0 type movie, and this is who this lady is. Here's the thing. Chun-Li's story, in the video games, not much really there. I know there's like the interpretation, at least in the Jean-Claude Van Damme movie, that Bison like killed her whole family and burned her town to the ground. That's where we get the famous line, "For you, it was the worst day of your life. For me, it was Tuesday." And a very
If they did
campy
that in
but
this
awesome
movie,
line.
but still kept it in like the early 2000s, it should have been him like nuking
Iran.
like a fucking town. Yeah, just wherever she's from. Just like, and she's the only one who survived. That's why
Yeah.
has powers, because she has radioactive blood or something.
But
Jeez.
Let me
Chun-Li,
cook, okay?
Chun-Li in the games is an Interpol agent. She's an Interpol agent, and for whatever reason, I think they're like, "Oh, we can't do that," but like, let's just give it to this other people instead.
Let's give her more of a Lara Croft
right.
background of she had rich parents and then decided to go to Bangkok and act like she's broke.
This movie
like it.
ends in a way where she is just Lara Croft, where like she still has her mansion, her house. She just gets to research.
She laid off all those people, by the way.
and then brought them all back. I don't
brought 'em back,
understand
I guess.
that. Why did she
Like
pack
in this
up?
economy?
She wasn't selling the house. Made no sense. She had a stupid amount of money. Stupid amount of money. But
Well,
her
she's
daddy
gonna be
had
gone for
connections.
2 weeks to.
That'd be funny if it really was just like half a month that she was away.
It felt like it was honestly like a 2-week vacation for her, where she's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna like go in the streets and become one of the people." That's what I also say when I go on vacations. I also be like, "Yeah, I'm gonna become one of the people for 2 weeks."
But man, that was really like a big sticking point for me. I'm like, they're showing footage of her walking around. Maybe she sits down and wakes up in this one scene, but like, she just says she struggled. Show me. Okay.
She's
'cause we
still
take
like
someone who
her hair looked
lived-
good and everything at multiple
Well,
scenes
yeah.
when this is happening.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
you're showering and
Yeah.
definitely going somewhere at night.
Just very basic, like martial arts, like movie cliche stuff. You take someone out of their element and you throw them. They need to train. They need to learn. They need to be beaten down and built back up. You have this woman. I don't know how old she's supposed to be, but ever since she was a little girl, grew up, rich. Granted, yes, she took the subway. She's a little bit humble. She's got that, that fantasy people have of like, I get to have, everything I want, but like I can reject it, but it's still forced upon me type of thing, That's the 50 Shades of Grey kind of mentality there. You take that person and all of a sudden you now need to be broke and live in another part of the world on the streets. Like, show me how that changed you, because you just said you struggled. Like, that would have been a very obvious, she can't handle it, but then, like, we're more endeared to the character, she makes some choices about sharing food or whatever. Like, nah, they don't really do any of that.
And I mean, and it wasn't until Yen there found her when she was like actually got into a fight and was basically assaulted. That was the only time when he finally showed up, because like she was looking for him somehow. They didn't really show too much of how she was looking for him. Like, was she just asking around, I guess. But
Yeah.
it's just funny is that like he's like, I'm only gonna show up when she's about to die. I just think that's so
Yeah,
funny.
what was his plan? Also, that was the scene too, where in the alley there, where the guy gets jumped and she goes to save him. They're all down, and yeah, maybe one guy was like, he was certainly conscious and not like unconscious. I guess that's the opposite of conscious. But she decides to like take this gigantic rack and just dump it on him, which probably killed him. Like there was stuff of metal things on there. Like if one of those pipes hit you right in the dome, I don't know, man.
maybe that's why when she killed that guy in the club, it didn't phase her, because maybe she's already killed before, I guess.
It wasn't her first.
Yeah, that's
a good point.
Does anyone want to bring up anything about this movie? Any
I
want to with you guys.
I just now I'm like surfing more on the IMDb page, and I wish I brought it up earlier because we were talking about cinematography and whatnot. We talked about how Neil's been in other video game movies, but the director, which I'm gonna mess this up, I'll try my best. Andres Bartkowiak, maybe. He directed Doom, which we watched, which also kind of had rough action scenes, martial arts scenes, which starred The Rock. Like, that's like the one thing to have in it is The Rock can do wrestling movies. I remember he did a couple of them, but he's done Exit Wounds. He did Romeo Must Die, and this is the coolest one to me. He did do cinematography for Speed. Yeah. We need to keep the car going. To keep doing my Keanu Reeves there. Speed's a good movie. Which, by the way, I can't wait for when we talk about that in Sonic Movie Show, whenever we get to that. Maybe it's already happened if you're watching this. But yeah, I just think that's interesting. He did that, and let's see what his latest work was. He's now a director of photography, so I guess maybe he's hung up the director label. It's been actually no, never mind. Forget IMDb sucks. He's actually doing Legends of Horror After Hours. He's done Dead Reckoning. He was director of Dead Reckoning, which
Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning, or just a movie called Dead Reckoning?
Dead Reckoning.
Okay.
I see two dudes hugging. One of them shirtless. Oh, must be a spicy film.
Devin,
folks.
just hit save for later.
Save for later. Maximum Impact. Okay, yeah, he hasn't done too much after this. Only two directing wise.
Okay.
But just wanted to bring that up since he has done other stuff we've watched before.
Interesting. David, anything pressing that you might have not talked about yet for the film?
No, I don't think I really have any other comments about the movie. I guess just generally, this isn't really about the movie, but I'm interested to see what the other. This is what I expect, I will say, from a video game movie from that era. Just not that great. So I'm hopeful that my expectations will be broken, and a couple of these are going to be really great. But this being my first, video game movie review with you guys, was not impressed. But at the end of the day, it was fine.
Okay.
It'll be really interesting once we rank it, which I feel like that's where we're going to next. But yeah, I mean, Ethan will preface it when we do the rankings, but like we do have a video game curve, video game movie curve added to this. But no, I agree with you. I mean, this is definitely one of those movies where I don't know if I would have watched if this show didn't exist. I don't know if it would be something I'd recommend either. In a way, I guess, in terms of me being a movie connoisseur, though, I guess I will say I'm thankful for adding it to my repertoire of bad movies I've seen that I could maybe reference on the off chance to just probably you two.
Wow.
Okay.
Very cultured of you.
Chun-Li movie?
Very.
Yeah.
You haven't seen the Legend of Chun-Li movie? You wouldn't get that reference.
This movie does remind me of another movie of a very arguably more popular media property, a Japanese media property that has a strong following worldwide. Not a
Shogun?
video game though. That also had a live action adaptation around this time that was also reportedly very, very bad. This does remind me of the infamous Dragon Ball movie where Goku is a white teenager in high school. And not like a monkey boy in...
This was still in the era where, yeah,
know.
you had like white people like changing their race for films. Like I think it was around the time Johnny Depp did that one Western movie where he plays a Native American.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
That's why
everyone kinda
I will say
forgot
this.
about.
Hey, the
Still during
entire
Pirates of the
movie
Caribbean.
takes place in non-Western places of the world where people are nice to speak English, but it's not expected, and they're not walking through town and have everything spoken in English. So I will say, that you get, half a point from me for at
That's
least
true.
not
That's
whitewashing Bangkok. I guess.
That's true. We gotta give him credit
know.
for that one. Yeah.
Yeah. So why don't we go ahead and talk about our kind of movie review tiers that we do over here on the Sonic Movie Show. Before we get into that, folks, this right here is on screen. Is all the movies we're going to be watching this season in order, left to right, top to bottom. So the first one being Street Fighter: The Legend of Chun-Li. We're going to give it a score in a second, and I'm going to show you what that rubric is. But first, Devin, as I show what our kind of movie tiers are and what movies we placed them in the past, why don't you give me the rundown of what the different movie ranking tiers are and what they mean?
Right. So we have S, A, B, C, D, E, and F. Some may say, why do we need E? I saw a TikTok last night where someone ranked like the letters of rank tiering, and
Okay.
and someone put E in the F tier because he's like, why do we need an E tier when there's an F tier already exists? So I've just been thinking about that all day before we went to this episode. I'll have to send it to you all later, but yeah, I mean S tier, and we gotta remember, like I said earlier, this is a video game movie curve, so maybe an S tier video game movie might not be maybe even an A tier film, just in general film. It might not be. But in terms of video game scale, S tier is, to us, the closest you can get to a perfect video game movie, whether that's because it has maybe great effects, characters, cinematography, but also maybe a good chunk of that could also be it's faithful to its adaptation. Does it take liberties? Sure. Sonic Movie 2, we have an S tier, does take liberties with the characters, but it represents what we think of Sonic the Hedgehog. We think of Tails is in that film. It's a fun movie. We've watched it 4 times now, reviewed it 4 times, and it still, holds up. That usually is when we talk about S tier movies, like, oh, I'd watch this again. I wouldn't just have this on in the background or not watch it at all. That's S tier. A tier is the closest you can get to perfect. I mean, it is really, really good film. Maybe there's like one little thing that's missing. Maybe it needs a little secret sauce. Sometimes it's kind of hard to describe the difference between A and S because it could be that secret, like, this movie was just fun. This was a movie. A tiers are still really good. Ones that you would still recommend to folks. Trying to think of our first example in A tier that we always... Street Fighter, where it's fun, has great memorable dialogue, has great characters. That's A tier. B tier is still good, maybe not great, still good. I enjoyed watching it, perhaps. It's not. Maybe it is missing a couple chunks that could bring it to that A, maybe not S tier, but still, it's one of those. To me, I always will take a B tier video game movie every day of the week because we've watched a lot of. Well, we'll get to it. C and D tier movies that sometimes I'm like, you know what? I'm thankful for this B tier movie because, man, it's been rough with these C tiers. And that's what we're talking about next. C tier is just your middle of the road video game movie. Maybe there's some good scenes in it, but maybe there's a lot of bad scenes in it. Maybe it's just boring. It could be well shot, but maybe it's just boring. I think Assassin's Creed, is that in C tier? Now I'm misremembering.
Assassin's Creed is our typical D tier film.
D tier. That's right. C can just be, just middle of the ground. It's kind of hard to describe. Sometimes when you know it, you see it. You know it when you see it. It's just didn't hate it maybe, but it just wasn't. Probably won't watch it again. Maybe I'd have it on the TV while I'm cleaning or something. Maybe put it on for the youngsters. Keep
There's
them
enough
occupied,
good and bad,
so I can go drink a
perfectly
6-pack and cut the lawn. D is we're getting to the bad now. It's more bad than good for sure. Yeah, maybe there's a couple notable scenes, but for the most part, it's bad or maybe unrememberable. Can't remember anything from the movie, or it's just plain boring, like just real boring. I'm looking at my phone quite a bit, not to take notes, more just like, is this movie over yet? It's boring. Assassin's Creed, where it had some cool visual elements to it, and the actors tried, but just overall, it's a boring film. Then we get into E, where it's just bad. Would not recommend. Stinker. Oof. I really feel like we wasted our time watching this, even talking about it. It's E tier. Then F tier is saved for our special favorite director, Uwe Boll, mostly. But it's the tier where it's not just bad, it's downright offensive, maybe racist, or should not be watched. If anything, I kind of really regret we watched any of them. Delete it off the face of the earth. Don't let people even rent it. Stop. Full stop. Never make anything again. F tier.
Please stop. Yeah.
The only one we have in F tier is Postal. Do not watch that film.
Yeah.
Don't even pirate it. Don't mean that's legal, but even if you were going to think about it, don't even do that. It's not worth your time or your hard drive.
I agree. Now, before we go ahead and decide together collectively what we want to put Street Fighter: The Legend of Chun-Li into one of these tiers, I want to talk about our little rubric we have, because there's points on the line here. The points basically, as Devin mentioned, S, A, B, C, D, E, F, straight down the line, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. F gets you 0. Very basic. We have a counterpoint system. Does not affect.
F should give you. We should change that. F should definitely give you like negative 10.
No, because I feel like the act of watching it
lose.
at all, it feels like a punishment. I don't feel like you need to then give them -1 points.
Wow.
We have a counterpoint system over there on the right-hand side of the screen. We don't need to worry about that for the first 6 movies of the season. It's only on the 7th movie as there are counter picks on that one. So yeah, very basic point system going on. There is also a decimal point system in place that we will have to figure out after we've decided what tier this is going to go in. So, folks, Street Fighter: The Legend of Chun-Li. As is custom, this is my movie pick, so I'm going to go first and make my case as to why I think this movie belongs in the D tier. I found this movie boring as shit. I was very disappointed in how they adapted the characters. I know it teased at the end. Yeah. I said they mispronounced Shadaloo and Shadalao. They also said like Ryu or no, like his name is Ryu. And they're like, oh yeah, and like, oh, I hear Bison might be setting up a tournament. They clearly had like ideas for what they wanted to do in the future. And yeah, maybe Bison would wear red and wear the hat. And maybe Chun-Li would wear blue and the yellow, and maybe these characters would look like how they're
She could have worn a T-shirt that said "I stand with Ukraine" or something,
Oh, there you go. I understand that's what they want to do in the future, but that's the future, and this is now, baby. This is 2009, and you made a very boring film. I just find the action extremely boring. I found the entire plot easily boring. You could remove Maya and Nash and any scene that has them with it, and the movie doesn't change. The movie really doesn't change. There's a moment where Chun-Li talks to Nash, but that doesn't change what she's going to do. So the movie doesn't change. None of that changes. It's a Chun-Li and Gen film, and then there is Nash and Maya. It really does feel like the A and B tier plots of Hawaii Five-0, where we may have to make sure our 6 main characters are in every episode. It feels like that. We're these actors are contracted to be in these episodes, so we need to give them a B plot. They need to be in some scenes. That's what the movie felt like. That's my
right.
I'm going to throw out D tier. I would love point-wise to be told it's higher, But I'm curious. I feel like our honorable. I almost called you a guest. You're just here now for like 20 episodes. David should go next.
Sign the
Also, it
contract.
works left to right this way. David.
David's RB plot.
Oh,
Well, get ready.
what tier would you put this in, and why?
So I sort of decided in my head before you even started speaking what I was going to say. And maybe I am grading this too much on a curve, but my initial gut feeling was C. The more I think I have a low threshold to what I enjoy in movies, and I know this about myself. And I am an easy watcher, it doesn't take a lot, just a little bit of punching and kicking and I'm in. So I think I'm rating this a little bit higher. There was a lot of stuff that I was like, what is going on? But at the same time, that was kind of entertaining because it was like bad, almost in a fun way at times. Just like the every time they brought more and more evil things the bad guys doing, just stuff like that, like would genuinely made me laugh a few times. So yeah, I think maybe I'm rating my video games too high here, but I guess for now I'm saying C.
Okay. Devin, what do you think this movie
this is great.
should be scored as?
This is tough for me. I'm definitely hearing both of y'all. And I did have a kind of loose ranking in my head going into this episode, but then like the more we talked about it, and then I'm looking at like our C and D list. I'm just going to read it off because I think I did a poor job earlier kind of describing each. So
it was scrolling up on screen, but it wasn't visible for you.
I'm just going to read off for the audio listeners, perhaps, and for David if he's not seeing it.
Yeah.
Here's like the definition of a C movie. We had Lara Croft, Tomb Raider, The Cradle of Life. Had some great scenes in it. I still think they're kind of, in a weird way, some of my favorite C movies because they're just like, man, these movies just had so much potential, just didn't hit the mark. But I remember them a lot, in a way. All the Resident Evil movies, same thing, where it's like
most of them.
They kept just changing the plot every time. You're like, oh, you thought it was going this direction? Fuck it, we got rid of the clones in the first 5 minutes. We got rid of the whole clone.
The desert.
Yeah, we're going somewhere else. Then we have some that are maybe a little bit lower in terms of. I always look at C as a kind of all of them as a kind of spectrum where like you could be a low C, high C. It doesn't change our scoring or anything. Just when we're talking about it, I feel like that kind of helps me find a compromise where I'm like, yeah, I had it as this, and Ethan had it as this. Is there a way we can meet? Is that easier? I think literally we just did that with the Arc series there, where I was kind of in one section, but in the lower end of it, and Ethan was in the high section, kind of on one end, and we kind of just met in the middle. So on one hand, I want to say when I preface this, I was starting at C first because when I was watching this, I was entertained from some of the cheesy dialogue and action scenes. There were some parts where I agree where I was like, where is this going? Or, okay, this is going on too long. Give me back to the club scene where they're fighting and there's awesome 2000s hip-hop music going on. I thought it was cool how she killed Bison. I'm like, that's kind of memorable. Snapped, literally turned his head all the way around. Like, there's some memorable parts of this, I think, that I hope to remember in, like, a year's time. But on the other hand, then I look at the D list, which has Assassin's Creed, Doom, Final Fantasy Spirits Within, Hitman, and Ratchet and Clank, Resident Evil Afterlife.
I forgot about the Hitman movie.
Yeah, and some of those I did remember liking some elements, but for the most part, I was kind of bored. I want to say I feel like I had too much fun in this to put it in D. That's where I'm leaning right now because I don't know if I'll watch this movie again. Don't get me wrong. I think it's honestly though, if we ever did a watch along of some of these movies, I would put this one on this list. I think this one's a great movie to riff with friends. Like I feel like me and Bryn were riffing while we were watching it, Like so, and
Yeah.
I think that's what made it added to it.
Yeah.
When D, I was like, okay, like Assassin's Creed, there was nothing to riff. It wasn't as fun because I was just like, what about free will? Am I supposed to learn?
Yeah, like, I find this movie boring, but there are fun parts of it. I found Assassin's Creed and Hitman boring, and there wasn't
Right.
anything fun in it. It was just boring.
Wow.
So I'm saying,
Okay.
and this is me being like, yeah, of course I want you to get a D and lose, but no,
Right.
for real, like
Same.
I feel like, I feel like this is like the definition of C, where I feel like it had some elements where it was funny, maybe not on purpose, but it's there. It was entertaining. If it was a 2-hour movie, then this was a D for sure, because there's definitely some slow parts where I think didn't need to be in it, but like this just has that kind of energy of the 2000s era that I've always liked. I'm a sucker for like cheesy 2000s films and late 90s films, and this kind of hits my part of my brain that likes that stuff. But if I'm gonna put it in like an NC though, it's definitely on the lower C end. I'll say that.
Okay, interesting.
I agree.
So Devin says C, David says C, I say D. Well, we need to come to a conclusion, and I'm okay with the best 2 out of 3 when it's something like this.
I think when that's going to be the way we're going for this series. I'm expecting is that if two people are going one way, we got to.
Because I doubt we're going to be like, I think it's A, I think it's D. I don't know. I guess
that's
the only F. You know, like
that's the only time where I feel like we shouldn't do majority rule. I think we need to fight that one out. But if it's something like this where it's between one ranking, you know, I think it's fair that we do majority rule. I think if it was an example where it's like me and David think it's S and you think it's F, then we need to have a conversation.
Yeah. Did we watch the same movie?
Maybe we do need to meet in that A or whatever. You know, I think that is definitely
okay. So we put
up
Street
there.
Fighter: The Legend of Chun-Li in the C tier, which gets me the first points of the season, 3 points. However, it's not 3 even points. God, I hope it's not. We also need to add our decimal system in here. How we go about this is quite simple. You know, we need a tiebreaker in case we tie, and this is a low-scoring type of game, so it's very easy for ties to happen. So we use a decimal point system to make sure that doesn't happen. Last season, I won with less than a point because of the decimal system. How we go about this, Devin, if you remember, is we go to not imdb.com. No, it's an awful website. We're going to a less awful website. Rotten Tomatoes. I called it RT in my head and almost said Rooster Teeth, RIP. We go to RottenTomatoes.com, look at the movies page, and look at the audience score, not the critic score, the audience score of it. Take whatever percentage that is and turn that into a decimal. So my 3 could be 3 point something.
So 7. If it's 60%, it'd be 0.6.
Exactly.
So it's a fun little tiebreaker, and I think for me, like adding this when we were talking about doing a fantasy football equivalent of this last season, I remember we were going in. Normally, I was like, oh, we need to have some sort of like tiebreaker thing, just because I also think it'd be fun to have decimals, and I was like, what can be a good way? Oh, let's do audience score specifically, not the tomato meter, which is like critics. The audience score, because I like to see too sometimes like, are we totally like hyping this movie up? Are we sleeping on this movie compared to what other people think? Doesn't mean that we'll change our ranking. It's more of just like, oh, wow, this was 90% Rotten Tomatoes. We hated this film. We're in the outlier.
Generally speaking, audiences like things more than critics because generally speaking, audiences might not care that much, especially when it comes to video game movies. They're like, yeah, I'm putting a rating on this because I like Street Fighter, and I want to give it.
And that's another thing to preface is that sometimes the audience score is 5 people, and it can just be people who really like movies for the most part. I feel like people who rate movies really bad probably just hated that they wasted their time. So I think that's always kind of when they're low, and then when they're high, they're high. I don't feel like there's
ever
not
like
on
Letterboxd. You know what I mean? That's where all like the snooty type of social media critics type of go. But Devin, what is the audience score for Street Fighter: The Legend of Chun-Li?
Before I say it, because I will say it does have one. So Ethan, you will get some points here, which I hope so with your first round draft pick.
Is it 99?
No, but can you make a real guess?
I'm gonna guess 62.
Okay, David, what do you think?
Wow, 62 is a good guess. I'm gonna guess 48.
David wins. It is 18.
No!
Whoa!
It is 18. You're only getting 0.18.
Oh my
I will say,
Wow.
I'm posting it in our little Discord chat so you
Jeez.
see it
Wow.
yourself.
That's lower than I expected.
Same.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be in like the 20s, 30s. I feel like typically when we do movies like this, that's where it is. 18 is like real bad. Like usually if you're below like 20, it's not a very good movie.
Well,
So maybe we ranked it too high. I don't know.
Wow.
We'll
Maybe.
see.
Wow. Okay, maybe there was just like, maybe it was rage-inducing, like, no, this isn't the Street Fighter movie I wanted. I wanted to see Ryu. I wanted to see this.
I think it could have been that. I think it definitely. I feel like we ranked it more in just its movie elements. I think we did maybe soften it a little bit from hey, this could have been another. We said it before though, where this could have been another movie without the Street Fighter label. Give it different character names, and it's just some Hawaii Five-0-esque adventure film. By the way, the tomato meter score is even worse. It's 3%.
Oh, fantastic.
Wow.
Joy of the I'm glad for the first time ever we are not doing that as our basis. Hey, it's better than 0 like the one time.
I mean, we can make it
I
more
got.
fun, and you add them together, and it still would be below 24.
Well, no, because that's how you could get like 1.3 or you know what I mean.
I know, maybe more excited. Be like, oh, they're both 90s. I just score big,
Alrighty, well, this was very fun. I'm glad we were able to review Street Fighter: The Legend of Chun-Li. Thank you guys for joining, but we're not done quite yet. I mean, it's time for everyone's new favorite game show, Chun-Li's
right.
Finances. That's right. We're going to be helping figure out how much it costs to live like Chun-Li in Street Fighter: The Legend of Chun-Li. Now, we do a game show like this on every movie review episode, at least we are going to now. We did one during the movie draft. It was just a general video game thing, but every single one of these is going to be based on the movie that we watch. Last time, Devin won. He won our very first game. That's why you might see a little trophy above his score there. I'm keeping track of who wins which game, and we're going to see who wins
I'm a gun
ultimately for
expert.
the whole season.
What the heck?
Absolutely, absolutely. This time, in Chun-Li's Finances, I'm going to ask you guys 6 multiple-choice questions. There are going to be 3 choices each. You're going to buzz in by saying your own name, and you're going to pick A, B, or C. If you get it wrong, the other person gets a chance to seal. Obviously, it makes it easier for them because then they only have 2 choices. Any questions on this basic format here? Devin.
Are you when you talk about finances, it's just
Talk about money.
yeah, I'm talking about
money.
when she went to Bangkok, or like are you just talking about in general?
Well,
Like,
we're
I'm just
going to
kinda-
find out together, aren't we?
Okay. I just wasn't sure, like how poor was she or how rich was we'll see, I guess.
All right. I guess it's time to begin. For each correct answer, I'm going to give you guys 5 points. Question number 1. In Street Fighter: The Legend of Chun-Li, Chun-Li grew up in a mansion in Hong Kong. I went to mansionglobal.com and looked at 37 mansions and penthouses that are currently for sale in Hong Kong. What is the average price of a mansion or penthouse for sale in Hong Kong today in United States dollars? All these questions have USD. Hong Kong dollars, the conversion rate's really weird and it's hard to scale it. It makes no sense. Well, it makes sense to them, but like it's not, it visually doesn't make any sense to us.
Doesn't make sense to me.
So,
In America's
average price
right.
of a mansion or penthouse for sale today in Hong Kong. Is it A, $11,356,700, B, $9,320,800, or C, $7,401,000?
Devin.
I heard David.
I'm going C, 7 million.
David says C, $7,401,000. That is incorrect. Devin, you have a chance to seal.
I'm gonna go
Terrible.
A. I'm gonna go with the highest number. I
Wow.
think that was the highest. I'm gonna go A.
Okay.
Hey,
Devin
Joe
says,
Biden. Joe Biden's making everything so expensive.
China.
Devin says A. A is incorrect.
Oh,
Classic Ethan
Classic.
move
You
to
gotta
just-
pick B every time.
Yeah.
Gotta pick B every time.
Classic Ethan move to just find the median between the two.
Sure. Question number 2. In Street Fighter: The Legend of Chun-Li, Chun-Li attempts to research a Chinese scroll she has received while in her bedroom at a desk that has a G4 iMac, which is Ethan's favorite design of iMac. I went to eBay.com and looked at 20 recently sold listings of G4 iMacs in various conditions.
God damn it.
What is the average price of a G4 iMac on eBay today? Is it A, $584, B, $327, or C, $206?
David. B.
David says B, $327. That is incorrect.
Damn
Oh,
it.
I saw the strategy.
I really
there.
thought it was. Well, yeah.
Am I allowed to ask a question? What is Gen 4? Was that 2009?
It would have been period accurate with the film.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit older. Because I think they were going into their
It's 2020. And it's now
aluminum
2024.
kinda
There's
look.
been like how many IMAX? I'm gonna go C. I'm gonna go small.
Devin says C, $206. That is correct. Devin is getting the
I was
first
gonna
points
guess the
of
higher
the
one.
game. Devin now has 5 points, and
Not
David
good.
has
Not
0 points. David, I'm gonna need you to step it up, man. I think I need you to get
trying.
into the boots of Chun-Li and figure out how much it costs to live like her.
Boots of Chun-Li.
Question number 3. In Street Fighter: The Legend of Chun-Li, Chun-Li moves out of her mansion to bum around in Bangkok. As she leaves her old home, she walks in a heavy downpour of rain without an umbrella. I went to Kohl's.com and looked at 26 umbrellas at various sale and clearance prices. What is the average cost of an umbrella at Kohl's today? Is it A, $26.25, B, $22.63, or C, $17.21?
Devin.
Devin went first.
C. For
Devin
clearance,
says-
C.
Devin says C for clearance, $17.21. That is incorrect. David, you have a chance to
Wow.
steal.
Cole's gone expensive.
I'm gonna go B.
David says B, $22.63. David, that's correct. David now
Wow.
ties
I would have gone the
Devin.
lower
He
one.
gets Cole's cash though. On top of that,
Whoa.
He does get Cole's cash on top. That's their gimmick.
So it
We're
works
all
out to
tied up,
17. So
5 and 5.
Right.
And we're halfway through today's game. On to question number 4. In Street Fighter: The Legend of Chun-Li, Chun-Li has a career as a concert pianist. I went to salaryexpert.com and looked at the average base salary of a concert pianist in Hong Kong. What is the
In Hong
average
Kong.
yearly salary of a concert pianist in Hong Kong today in US dollars? I had to convert these. Is it A, $66,723, B, $58,233, or C, $47,833?
Devin.
Devin.
I'm gonna go B.
Devin says B, 58,233. That is incorrect. David, you have a chance to steal.
saved again.
50-50 chance right here.
C. I think they're not paid very well.
David says C,
Well, in terms of-
$47,833. That is incorrect.
Wow,
The average
okay.
yearly salary of a concert pianist in Hong Kong is over $66,000 in U.S.
I
United
feel like
States
that's still
dollars.
not that much though. To be fair,
Over there.
I don't know what their
I
cost
think-
of living is, so it depends.
I think it.
Well, we know what her cost of living is because she lives in a mansion. But
Right. Yeah.
like, money doesn't really matter to her all that much. Speaking about money, question number 5. In Street Fighter: The Legend of Chun-Li, Chun-Li is shown taking the subway after her concert. I went to travelchinaguide.com and looked at the one-way ticket prices using the discounts granted by owning an octopus card for 10 different common destinations in Hong Kong from their typical boarding locations. There is a Hong Kong Disneyland. Most people come from central Hong Kong, then they go there, that type of thing. What is the average ticket price for a one-way subway ride in Hong Kong? Is it, and this is in United States dollars, is it A, $2.70, B, 95 cents, or C, 54 cents?
David.
David?
Now I'm second guessing. I wanted to say C, but I think I'm gonna go with B.
David says B, 95 cents. David, that is 100% correct. David now
Whoa.
leads. Devin
Yep.
has a chance of tying
If it was
up.
in yen, I might know that because I've been looking at trains for Japan later this year. So I was like, oh, please, it's not yen though. I'm like, I don't know the dollar to whatever they use in China conversion rate is at right now.
Also,
I was just
helpful.
thinking how much it costs, like where I live, to take like a subway, and I was like, it's probably a little bit less. So I was right.
yeah, one-way ticket
Nailed
too.
it.
And this is with a discount, by the way, too, because the octopus card gets you cheaper fare.
Oh,
Folks
see, I
at
wasn't
home,
thinking about the
I
octopus
forgot
card.
to update this question counter. It said we're on question 2 for 2 through 5, but now we're on the final question. Devin has a chance to tie up. There will be a tiebreaker. In Street Fighter: The Legend of Chun-Li, Chun-Li's father is a business tycoon who has made a fortune with his connections. The uber-rich have a tendency to play their wealth in various emergent financial systems. If he was in business this decade, he most likely would have left Chun-Li with a ton of worthless crypto and NFTs. What is the name of the crypto and blockchain adjacent service that siphons money off blockchain users by tricking them into thinking its UI and crypto wallet features are necessary for them to gamble all their money on NFTs? Is it A, MetaMask, B, Hyperion, or C, BitDodger?
Devin,
Devin.
I'm gonna go B. I don't know.
Yeah, I
Should take
feel like it's
guess
a
here.
total guess.
Devin says B, Hyperion. That is incorrect. David, you have a
Damn.
chance to steal. To win even more.
Bit Dodger just sounds fake, but maybe I think I'm gonna go Bit Dodger.
I was leaning towards that one, but I'm like, and this isn't 2017 anymore. I'm like,
Yeah.
I feel like they're like trying to make it sound classy, but
Right,
I won't
yeah.
be surprised if it's C. That was my second guess.
David says C, BitDodger. That is incorrect. The correct
Wow,
answer
really?
is MetaMask. It's just
That sounds even worse.
They
That's so
just take a
stupid.
bunch of money. Because they make it look like, oh yeah, you need to use their service. I don't know. Those people lost all their money anyway. David wins with a total of 15 points, which I feel like is kind of poetic because last game Devin had 30 points and David had 10. So Devin tripled his score. David tripled Devin's score here today. So,
Wow.
David, congratulations.
Just not a money guy, you know.
Have earned yourself a trophy.
You can take the green. I can keep the iron. Okay.
Hold that trophy up.
Yep. Yeah, it's on the screen a little bit up higher. Yes, well, thank you guys for playing this game with me of Chun-Li's finances. Anything we want to say about Chun-Li before we wrap up the show? don't know.
Invest into Dogecoin.
Good advice. Actually, things you want to say.
Nah.
Okay.
Invest
Well-
in a Chun-Li coin.
Thanks, guys, for watching this episode of the Sonic Movie Show. Hey, we're a podcast you can find on Spotify and Apple Music and Audible and all that jazz. We're also on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, and other places at Sonic Movie Show. Give us a like. We have the video game movie draft episode is over there if you want to see our kind of thought process on some of these movies we're about to pick. And yeah. I guess we'll see you next time for, I don't know, probably another episode of the Sonic Movie Show.
See you
See you
in
later.
the Sonic Movie Show. Half.